Okay, you can talk now about stuff.
Hold on, I'll do the introductions, I suppose.
Okay.
Okay.
And 1 and 2 and. Hey everyone, it's April 16th, 2014, and this is the Box Social Podcast. I'm Shane Goen, and today I'm joined by Brennan Hassan. And he's quiet.
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. I changed my push to talk button. Sorry about that. Hi.
Full transparency on this show.
And Caleb Dodge.
Hi.
What's up, guys?
My butt itches.
All right.
It's quiet 2 weeks.
And thanks for joining us for the Box Social Podcast. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
No,
So-
there's some stuff that's happened.
PAX.
That's a thing.
I've been keeping up with it.
A couple of cool announcements.
And
Kozak,
Following
are you
some-
our PAX correspondent?
I was live on the internet searching for news stories, and I picked out a couple of things that just kind of popped out at me. Mostly just 3, to be honest, that really, I keep in touch. So Eugenics is going to be a new game coming out from Team Meat. That looks different. Very different indeed. It's all about making cats fuck each other and breeding them and then having cat fights. And also breeding them to make them look good. It's Pokemon.
It's fucked up Pokemon.
Fucked up Pokemon in a house with cats.
Okay. And this is by the Team Meat people.
Yes.
All right.
And
Yes.
they had the build that they were showing off at PAX. They just made all the cats have their own personalities and almost sentient in kind of a way. And the head designer, technical designer, was freaking out about it every time he was interviewed about, the cats, while people were making them kill each other in horrible, horrible ways.
I remember hearing about this game months and months ago. I guess when it was first announced. So the only thing I know about it is that random cats that you were essentially creating those and raising them. And what do you do with them? What's the objective? How does the game actually play?
You pet them, and then they get horny, and then they do each other. And then, depending on special breeding, you either have cats for fighting other cats to do something, or you have cats that look good that can win cat prettiness shows that does something. It's very vague on what you're really doing in the game. But that's as much as I know so far. I'm sure other people probably know a little more about that than I do.
Okay. So the fighting.
Yes.
Is it turn-based?
It's a weird kind of hybrid turn-based, kind of like how JRPGs are doing it now, where you kind of have an action bar. You do so many actions before an action recharges. So you have an attack button, but then you have 2 different kind of depending on the way you breed the cat, dodge moves that you can do, but you dodge in real time to avoid certain attacks and stuff like that, or do certain things make you dodge, but also do an ability up or something like that, and raise stats.
Okay.
Killer kittens.
Is the cat
Of all
sex? Is it
games.
interactive?
It is an interactive game. One of the more things I like about Team Meat is Macmillan's art style. And he's going with this weird, just kind of black and white kind of look for the whole game. I mean, it's still his own art, but it's all black and white, no real use of colors in it at all. And it also has a very catchy soundtrack.
All right. I'm okay with that, I guess. I'll probably pick it up in a Steam sale.
Yeah. Weird. Such an odd game. So weird.
So is that what you've been up to this week? Is just hanging out covering PAX?
Yeah, I got a couple of other games too. I might as well just briefly mention as quick as possible, even though these are the 2 most that I'm really hyped about. Hyperlight Drifter which is more like a roguelike dungeon crawler that originally had a really small Kickstarter that blew up overnight. And now they're going to be on all major consoles with full game co-op. They announced that they're doing that now. That's made it into the game. They had a giant build for PAX that they gave out to a bunch of different news outlets to play, and it looks really good. It's like a top-down Devil May Cry kind of is what it kind of looks like, because you can switch between doing melee attacks and weapon attacks, and you can modify your weapons and level up your character as you go. And it has like probably the best pixel art I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think almost calling it pixel art is kind of like negating how fantastic its art style really is. Because normally when I hear pixel art, it's kind of associated it with something like more like a half-minute hero, or like a McPixel or something, as opposed to what they're pushing with Hyperlight Drifter, which is just, it's stunning, especially when they pull out the camera.
Oh yeah.
It's got a real sense of scale to it.
Yeah, the art direction of the game looks fantastic, and just seeing the game run through different videos, it's really promising for the final product. They did announce that they're not making their 2014 June release, which that was announced a while ago, and they were going to aim for like late 2014. Now they're saying early 2015 is the most realistic like date they can give the game, but now it's one of those it's done when it's done kind of territory.
What was their original stretch goal? Was it like 50, 60,000?
I believe so, yeah.
They made like well over 500,000, right? If I recall correctly. I mean, it's been a while
Reading
since I
it.
checked our Kickstarter.
I'm reading it right now. Their original stretch goal was 27,000. They have broken over 600,000
Wow.
for it. So
Yeah.
yeah, and these goals include getting a co-op mode added, new areas added. Yeah,
So it's a roguelike?
seems like it.
Yeah.
See, I thought it was going to be almost more exploration based, like the top-down Metroid or something. Like I wasn't expecting it to be like a roguelike necessarily, because it's not randomly generated, right?
Don't
Yeah.
think so.
I don't think so either, to be honest. So maybe my description of roguelike is a little misplaced. It's probably more of
I'm
a
reading more of it. It's definitely more of a. This is literally what it's describing. Traverse a dark, detailed, interconnected world with alternate paths and secret loot, a la Dark Souls is what it seems like. So it's definitely a Metroidvania probably kind of thing.
Like that game is stunningly gorgeous. Looks like it plays great. They got the guy from what is it? Samurai Gun.
Mm-hmm.
Bo from Samurai Gun, who is essentially working there to help with the feel of the game. So, from what little I've heard about it recently, I've heard that it plays incredibly well, and it's just remarkably responsive. Like almost kind of like you were just talking about Team Meat. Like Meat Boy had kind of like an accuracy to it that I thought was kind of like unparalleled for a 2D platformer.
Yeah,
So-
when you watch videos of Hyperlight Drifter, it's like you can feel what they're trying to go for in gameplay feeling just watching it, which is really cool to see. I don't know if anyone else feels that. I got a little
I'm down.
tingling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's definitely a pickup for sure when that comes out.
So early 2015.
Early 2015, and then let's see, the last game. This is actually like really weird that I'm excited about it, because I'm not a big. It's a point and click action adventure game, but it's not an action adventure game like you would think it is. It's called Gods Will Be Watching, and it was based on a game jam that came out a couple of years ago. You can go on to their website and check out the original build, but it's all about decision making in intense situations. So you could be like you have like the demonstration that they had of the game. It's really weird to describe it. The demonstration they had of the game at PAX is you and a bunch of other guys have 4 hostages, and these SWAT guys are coming in, like Space SWAT are coming in, that take you down. And you have to keep all of the hostages in order by threatening them or calming them down or just plain out killing one of them in front of the others. And then also having your team members like fix this security thing to hack into it and then get out of the way of the SWAT, but also making sure that the SWAT's not getting too close to come in and rescue the hostages and take all you guys out because you're like severely outgunned. It's a weird micromanaging in super stressful situations. Like the original game jam's about like surviving on a planet, and you have to decide if you want to kill these people, like a guy, so you can like save meds and bullets, or like destroy like this robot for parts to fix a radio beacon and stuff like that. It's really interesting to look at, and a lot of people that got their hands on it at PAX have been really blown away by it so far.
Is it like one consistent story, or is it just okay, we're gonna plop you down in this scenario and you have to figure it out?
Supposedly they're gonna go for one consistent story where you're following this one sergeant dude, and he kind of takes over for these different scenarios. And it's, I should probably mention this earlier, it's a sci-fi kind of like themed game, so it's all in space and stuff like that, and you get like abandoned on different planets and things like that.
Gods will be watching. It's weird. This is the first time I've ever heard about it.
Yeah, my first time I ever heard about it was going through all this PAX stuff, and it's gotten a lot of buzz about it showing up at PAX because I guess they did have like a bit of a like an Indiegogo. They didn't have a Kickstarter, but something like a Kickstarter to get it off the ground. But it was like the best game from that game jam that they did, the original game, which I encourage you to go give it a try. I still haven't beaten it. It is micromanaging and hard at the same time. You're just like, I don't want to kill this guy, but at the same time, he might be useful to fix this thing.
It would be so much easier if we just cap him.
Yes, exactly.
Hey man, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's.
I like the way it looks too. It looks like what is it? Sword and sorcery.
Yeah, it's kind of got that same kind of art style to it as well as Sword and Sorcery.
Gods will be watching. Pretty cool. Well, what else have you been up to?
Other than that, like I've been playing Dark Souls lately, trying to get that done before the second game comes out. That's been an experience.
Ornstein and Smog in the bag.
Yep. Let me just show off my gamer prowess by saying I was able to defeat Ornstein and Smog on my second attempt.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes. Thank you. You may all bow now. You may all bow. I might put in some like fake applause while I'm doing this right now.
Woo!
Yeah, there you go.
And humble.
I am not waving this around. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
they
you,
took me like 13 tries, so that's an accomplishment.
Yes. Ornstein and Smog they were the worst. I felt like.
Yeah. They were a pain in the ass. I will admit that. Like, it took me a long time to like do that battle. Like, it was a long, treacherous battle, and I freaked the fuck out when I got done with it.
Did you get anything good?
I got Smog's soul and an empty quiver.
All right. Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
Did you push any further after that, or did you was that the last that you've played of Dark Souls?
No, I've been pushing on through that. I went through the Duke's archives. I got killed in the very, very cheap room that I didn't realize you were supposed to die in anyway. I was just so like, I walked in the room, tried to defend myself. I'm like, how do I defeat this ice snake thing? I can't even reach him. Do I have to use arrows? And I shot like an arrow at him, and it's like, oh, that didn't work.
Yeah, I think my first time through, I was like, God damn it!
You just have to die.
And then you wake up in that prison cell, and I think I killed everything in that prison like 2 times after I realized, oh, I can't go get into that cell that has the Firekeeper soul in it that I need.
Yeah, you get that later. Oh, that game.
You pumped for Dark Souls 2?
Yes, I am very pumped for Dark Souls 2. I want it in my belly so
I
bad.
can't wait for you guys to start playing that game.
Yeah, man.
Cannot wait.
Week and a half. It's gonna be a really long week and a half.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Monday, I'm gonna be feeling it.
It's gonna be so good. I mean, it kind of sucks that in Britain, I guess the game got delayed if you bought like a retail box version because something screwed up in manufacturing for another I think 2 weeks.
That's brutal.
Yeah, for the Black Armor edition, that definitely sucks. But
I wish they would just send them out like a Steam CD key. It's kind of like, hey, here's a complimentary CD key, so at least you can get it downloaded, then we'll send you the physical.
yeah,
You know, something, because
Yeah.
that would suck. I mean, I'd for sure cancel my order.
Yeah, I would have been like, fuck it, and then got it digitally after that, save some money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'll be super rad to play through. But I mean, you're closing in. If you're that far in Dark Souls, you don't have long. So it's like in this week and a half, you'll easily have that in the bag, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, I gotta try not to be distracted by other things, but
you've got at least. Well, no, I mean he's getting to you know. Well, you've seen Seath, so you know what he looks like. But he's getting to Seath, but he still has to do the Bed of Chaos, Nito, and what's his name? Four Kings.
Yep.
You still gotta do them.
If he drops them in 2 tries, I think that he's gonna smoke the rest of the game.
You'll go through most of it. I was telling him the only fight that possibly could frustrate him is gonna be Seath. That's the only one that can possibly be the most. That and Gwyn, the final boss. Gwyn's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, to drop the sword I was using while fighting Gwyn and use a upgraded halberd to take him out. Like
Yes.
I felt like getting too close to him was too dangerous.
But yeah, you just start practicing your parries if you're gonna stick with a sword.
Okay. See, what is weird is I haven't switched out. I've been using the Black Knight sword this whole time, and I haven't finally fully leveled to +5. And I randomly looked up. I got like stuck trying to find out where the fuck I'm supposed to go in the ice caverns, and I looked up like, oh, here's probably some things you should know about the ice caverns. 1, don't use Black Knight weapons because pure physical weapons won't do shit. I'm like, that's not true. I'm dropping these ice giants in 2 hits.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, things are different in Dark Souls 2, and you'll get to experience that in a week. So,
Fucking ominous.
oh yeah. Just remember, Kozak, everything you learn, you must unlearn. Dark Souls 2.
To become the Dark Souls 2, you must forget everything you've learned.
It's like,
man.
oh yeah, Dark Souls 1, how cute.
Like they're having played more of it because I'm still on my New Game Plus run, the first New Game Plus run. It's and like having gone back to play a little bit of Dark Souls and going back to that, like it really just is fundamentally different in a lot of ways. Like its core gameplay is obviously the same, but some of its mechanics are different. I was gonna say, going back to what little like kind of opinion on it from last week's episode, I wanted to add one more thing to Dark Souls 2. There's a feature in the game that I'm not too keen on that I think a lot of people need to be aware of when they play it, because it will kind of change the way you view the multiplayer aspect of it. They added something, From Software added a feature in the game called Soul Memory. Soul Memory totals your souls you've collected throughout the entirety of gameplay, regardless of losing them or not. And that total collection of souls plays into who you can fight against in the game. So you can only fight people who have a soul memory that's within a certain limit of yours.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. It's like 50,000 souls, right? Or something,
Yeah.
which really isn't that many souls.
I think that increases, the window increases the higher you go.
Okay.
In terms of like, I think at lower levels, yeah, it's like 50,000, but I'm at like 3 or 4 million or more, and so I think the window for me is like a couple 100,000. But I'm not.
Okay.
Do not quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that the window gets larger. But it can make the game a ghost town. At my point in the game, it's not very easy for me to find like phantoms, including red phantoms, anything to summon in. I've pushed so far into the game soul wise. I'm kind of just on my own completely now.
That's kind of I wonder
Yeah,
if it is like 50,000, because that seems like an oversight that From would make. Just knowing about the glitches and issues with online in the past, or their PC ports. I feel like that would be an easy mistake that they just completely overlooked, where it's like, okay, this is fine for the first 80, 90, 120 levels, or New Game and New Game Plus, but it's like as soon as you start to get further along, then all of a sudden that 50,000 soul limit for you to play with other players it probably becomes very suffocating, and probably wasn't thoroughly tested. I mean, maybe
it's definitely a little suffocating based on my playthrough. I mean, I am playing in New Game Plus with the idea that I'm not going to summon anybody, which so far has held true, with the exception of one boss. But yeah, it definitely it does make the game feel empty all of a sudden. So I'd recommend, before, like, for people first playing through the game, stay in your New Game 1 playthrough for a while and kind of like just make sure you've done everything and that you have some fun getting summoned in by other players and stuff before you go into New Game Plus, because it really becomes a different game. So just a little bit of tidbit of info. I still love the game, just that's worth noting.
To be honest, what's really weird with Dark Souls 1 right now is like the beginning of the game is still really heavily populated, but now that, because I'm reaching the end game, like I feel like the community has like dropped drastically from people like, oh, I should try the first one, to like every once in a while I'll see like a specter run by, or like I'll randomly walk across a message and be like, I haven't seen one of those in like 30 minutes.
I kind of want to see what their percentages are like for player progress. Like, what is the number? Like, is it 10%? Is it 50% of people that beat that game?
There's a website you can pull up the statistics for the achievements for Dark Souls 1 and 2. And yeah, like it stops at a certain point for some of that game. I think it's more so with Dark Souls 1 than 2. Because 2 doesn't impede your progress, so like, or doesn't have the ability to impede your progress so much as Dark Souls 1 did, since enemies eventually hit a point where they don't respawn. So,
did they? One of the things that I've heard is that they're not so obtuse about like player statistics, and
yes,
they don't like just dump you into the game world like Dark Souls 1 did. I mean, Dark Souls 1 had a tutorial.
They still dump you. The tutorial's not really much of a tutorial.
Okay.
It's still a dumping. The difference is, though, I mean, yeah, the statistics are much more easy to grasp. I mean, even having beaten Dark Souls twice, I never felt like I fully understood the statistics in that game. But now in Dark Souls 2, it's very easy for me to say, okay, that's what this does, that's what this does, that's what this does. And it's much, much easier to see like where that stat diminishing returns are and how that plays in. So,
week and a half.
Oh yeah, y'all gonna have some fun. I'm gonna do my best to like plow ahead of y'all so I can hopefully try and invade and destroy you too.
And then I'll beat you in my second try.
Yeah. Waste all your healing items. Throw them all at me. I'm just a phantom. I'll come back.
Give me all of them.
Caleb, what else have you been up to? Is that it? Is it Dark Souls and PAX?
Well, there's actually one more thing that's been buzzing, which I think needs to be mentioned. There's this game that just got greenlit on Steam, and it's called, as of right now, I guess, it just got finally greenlit. It's called Cult of the Wind. It's a arena shooter. Oh god,
I know about this.
Yeah! It's an arena shooter. Cult of the Wind. Yes, it's an arena shooter in which you play as a character who's pretending to be an airplane, and so is everybody else.
It's just as silly as it sounds.
You literally, your character stretches out his arms, makes plane sounds, and runs around, and like you bank and stuff like that, like an airplane.
What the fuck is this?
And you have special jump boost abilities that turns you into a plane. And whenever you shoot your guns, you go. Like,
yeah, you make gun noises.
And then you can run into each other too, and just like kind of, there's an explosion sound, but you both just kind of fly off in the different directions. And it's so silly. but it looks like it's so much fun. One of the things people have been complaining about while watching the trailer is like, there's no collision detection. Like the guys who are working, it's like we purposely came out and said we don't have the collision detection in the trailer, but it's there, it exists. So you have like stat numbers popping up and things like that while you're shooting other people with your fake machine guns.
Yeah, that's
So
definitely
funny.
stupid enough to be greenlit.
Yeah, watching the trailer, I couldn't help but feel like it was absolutely the most like harebrained, retarded idea I've ever seen. Charming, and I would not be opposed to playing it, but it is just so fucking silly, just so silly.
By the trailer, it looks like it has a really good like user level designer too, like a really
I did like
well
that.
thought out one.
Yeah, I did see that.
Like I haven't seen a level designer like that since maybe like Far Cry. Time Splitter. It was like a mix between Far Cry and Time Splitters, like level designers, where you can actually manipulate the sizes of the ramps and walls and stuff like that.
Actually, I'd mostly compare it to the tools that you've been given in things like EverQuest Landmark recently. Like it seems like you can do a lot of really cool things with it.
I
Landmark.
haven't played Landmark, so I can't make that comparison.
Landmark's pretty cool.
Well, you don't have to play it. You can just look online and kind of look at the tools. That's one of the most in-depth editors I've ever seen for a game.
I've kind of cooled on it. Like, I think technically, moving into discussion about EverQuest Landmark, like that's been something that I've returned to since Alpha, and I don't know. I'm really waiting for them to get more features into the game because right now it is very cool to see what players put together, but it's also it's very half-baked as it stands. And, I mean, of course it would be. That's not, like, a slight against the game. It is in closed beta, and it has just left alpha. So there are things that are missing, like water or caves. That might have changed since last I played it. But also it's lacking combat. So, I mean, that has the potential to be... like a persistent and close to feature parity version of Minecraft with vastly improved visuals. Albeit it isn't procedurally generated like Minecraft is, so there is that. So it'll be more community focused. But yeah, if this Cult of the Wind has got that kind of in-depth multiplayer map editing, then that's pretty rad.
It also has people pretending to be airplanes.
Yes.
That just like everybody's freaking out about how like dumb it looks, but yet they want to play it so bad because it looks like a lot of fun. Oh man.
Well, Brennan, what have you been up to?
Excuse me for just one moment. I'm currently having a cold while we're recording this, and I'm blowing my nose. So give me just like 2 seconds, and I will answer that question for you.
No,
You gotta hold down the button. Yeah, hold down the button while you're blowing your nose, please. I want to hear it.
Yeah, what is it? What have you been playing?
Nobody wants to hear me do that. Okay, we'll pause, and we can actually have that. You can have me start from a actual point. So I'm gonna count to 5, and I'll answer.
No, I'm just gonna leave it as
editing
is.
this out. Yeah.
Okay, fine. It's pretty much been the same as it was 2 weeks ago. I've been playing Titanfall still, and like I just said earlier, I've been playing Dark Souls and Dota, kind of my mainstays. Yeah, I honestly haven't been playing much of anything else. So yeah.
Well, as a set of games, it's pretty fucking complete.
Yeah, there's not a lot that's coming out right now, and indie game wise, I kind of have what I like to play, and there's not a whole lot that can change. I mean, my opinions on Titanfall is still as I regard it as highly as it did last week. It's my favorite first-person shooter as of right now, and as of probably the last 5 years of my life. I've put over 100 hours into it now, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I just get better at it, and if it gets more fun. Dark Souls is Dark Souls, and Dota is Dota.
God, I can't believe you got me into Dota. You got me into Dota hard.
I did get you into Dota hard. I haven't even mentioned that. I love I've had conversations on this podcast about how awesome Dota is, and you're always like, I'd love to get into it, and then I finally do get you to play it, and you just fucking sunk. He went straight down that
Yeah.
hole.
Yeah, we need to have like a Dota day this weekend or something. Or coming
I
up.
can,
Dota evening.
yeah, I can definitely do that. That can definitely be a planned thing.
You
Well,
can keep trying to work on me making the drink the Kool-Aid.
yes. Oh, you will.
It
I've-
has to click. It doesn't happen immediately. You have to play like 20 matches and all of it. That's such a steep thing to say too. You have to play like 20 matches where you get your butt handed to you and you won't know what's happening. But then after those 20 matches, you're like, I love this game.
It's
Just
what it
gotta
took
sit
for me.
Gotta sit down just like for 20 hours for these 20 matches. Just get annihilated while people are yelling, no, just fucking why you get the carrier? I'm like, no, mom! And then suddenly, like, hour 20 hits, like, I get it.
I get it. Yeah, it definitely has a click moment for it when you first start playing it.
I feel like
Definitely did for me at least.
you've got to do so much like extracurricular like activity with Dota. I feel like coming
Yeah, you
into it
do.
now, like it wasn't just playing 20 matches. It's like roughly, yeah, it was like 20 matches before it's like I really started to enjoy myself. I mean, I liked the 20 hours leading to that, but I felt kind of like useless. So it wasn't just playing that, but watching YouTube videos or reading about the heroes, and it's kind of like I started to decipher that language, right? To where it's kind of like all the videos and the wikis kind of acted like a Rosetta Stone to translate Dota into something that made sense in my brain. To where it's like, okay, I am now enjoying this. I'm enjoying the depth and the complexity, and it's like I started to associate moves with characters and item builds, and man, that is a hell of a game.
Yes, it is. Very much a hell of a game. Yeah, I still play it and I still pick up different heroes and learn more and feel like an idiot so many times, and I love feeling like a moron a lot in the game now.
So talk
least-
Dota to me. Who you playing?
I think the last game I played a oh shit, who did I play in the last match? I have to pull that up really quick.
Dazzle.
No,
Come
it was
on,
not.
talk
I
dirty
did
to
play
him,
Dazzle.
Brennan.
I did play Dazzle a couple of matches ago, but it was a certain. I know that in this particular match, I was getting made fun of because I hadn't played the character in a long time, and so like, who's this piece of trash? Like doing their stupid crap because there always is those people in the game. And I know we came back and won, and I know that was a lot of it was my clutch playing when I got a hold of it.
Tell me about Nick's Assassin.
No, it was not. It was not Nick's.
Okay.
It was not Nick's. Hold on. I'm gonna pull this up while we're recording. I know
Was it
I'm
Phoenix?
just trying.
Was it your go-to Phoenix?
No, it was not Phoenix. It wasn't Luna. Timber Saw. That's what it was. It was Timber. I fucking yeah. That was an awesome match. Yeah, I went 13-4 and 14 assists with Timber, and yeah. At first, in the beginning of the game, they're like, "Oh God, why'd you pick Timber? Why would you do this to us?" Blah 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 blah. And then I just started dominating people. And they're like, "Oh, we like you." I'm like, "Yeah, you shouldn't be dicks." Moral of most games in this world, I'm kind of just starting to come to this conclusion and trying to be like very open about it. Don't be dicks. Things might be different if you're not a dick.
Man, see, I'm not to the point in Dota yet to where it's like I really want to interact with that game by myself. Like that's such a group game for me that it's like the games that I've played to where it is just this is a public game with nobody I know in it. Those have always been like kind of they're not the greatest experiences. Sometimes the community can step up, but I feel like a lot of times they don't. Like that's a super polarizing community.
It is.
At least it's not the LOL community.
Yeah. Valve does a lot to take the. Excuse me, I'm getting hiccups. Valve does a lot to take away the bad people in the community away from the main core experience that other people have, and they do a pretty good job with it. But yeah, every once in a while you do get that dickhead that pops up here and there. It's always one dude too. I always find in the game. There's never in most of the matches I play nowadays. It used to be like a whole team, but now I find it's always one dude. And it's one dude. And the thing that always pisses me off too, in the games that I lose, that one dude is usually like the best dude on the team. I'm like, God damn it. I just wish he would suck. Like I wish he would be an asshole. It'd be terrible.
It would be so much easier to hate him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, since I started playing the game on my own, it's easier for me to deal with that. But I mean, yeah, when you started it, you definitely were playing with me and with some other people. So that's an experience that definitely changes. I mean, when I play the game on my own, I don't play the game to win as a team. Like I will totally take advantage of moments where a team effort is needed and I will be there. But most of the time I'm like, okay, I just need to play my character and play my character well. And whatever the fuck happens in the rest of the match, that happens, cool. If I can help, I'll help. If I can't, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not gonna worry about them. And mostly that it turns out okay. The main purpose of that is like when I end up in matches playing with you all or other friends that I have, um, I can play that character well.
That's a
So
positive attitude.
yeah, doesn't mean there's not any frustration ever, but
Yeah, that game can be crushing if you just have one weak link on your team. It's all it takes.
hmm
And that can cost a 45-minute match. Like I feel like I have a lack of patience in that game. Not necessarily for the game itself. Like I kind of like how long a match takes, but I have a lack of patience a lot of times with other players, and I try to be
hmm
friendly and kind unless somebody is rude.
yeah,
But
then that kind of throws out that general idea of being nice.
yes,
So is that how it is whenever I play with you guys?
No, no.
You know,
We know
you
that
don't
you're
want me to
super
play
new,
with
so like,
you.
I try not to. I try to be helpful. I remember the last game that we played with you, Cosvac. You played Wind Ranger, and you had some really like clutch uh,
I
hackle
did get a
shots.
kill. I did get a couple kills there.
Yeah, and I say hackle shot on purpose, not shackle shot, because hackle shot it's what you call it when ridiculous things happen with shackle shot.
I am a
And
wild card.
you definitely had some wild card hackle shot moments in that game, to be sure.
yeah, and it for sure doesn't like frustrate me to play with like new players, especially when I know I'm just like so long as it's like clear in advance.
Yeah,
And it's like I know what I'm getting into. It's just otherwise it's one of those it's one of those things where it's like a match can be decided like 10 minutes in. Like that game is a game of hard swings, but sometimes you just know.
hmm yeah, it
And
can happen. I mean, and yeah, I've been in matches where I'm losing and we come back and win, and so it's a game of momentum. If you can swing the momentum your way, or if they can swing the momentum back in their way, it can pose problems or be good.
that
It
is
just
a
happens.
that is a video game. That is
Yeah.
mechanics and skill and timing, and it is distilled to such a fine final product in Dota 2 that I don't know of anything that comes close really to matching it. Like, a good RTS, like watching a game of StarCraft 2 or something one-on-one. It's like I can kind of divine that from a match, like a high-end match, but it's not as satisfying somehow as the team aspect and the team play and the character building of Dota 2. I find that very unique, and I also find it's kind of hard now looking at like other MOBAs, which I think are fine, but it's like I
You said you
can't play
played
them.
not to start some like well, lol's worse than Dota Flame War
Oh, you mean
circle
that
jerk.
piece of shit League of Legends?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy,
You did play a couple matches of that, and you said and that was post you having gotten into Dota.
pre and post, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then you said it was not working
No, I
for
didn't.
you.
I didn't like it. I mean, it didn't help that I found the visual presentation to be like bad. It looks like deviant art vomited into a video game.
Yeah.
I didn't like the character designs. I don't like their monetization plan. I mean, Valve is in a unique setup where Riot Games is not, to where they can, they're trying to bring people into Steam. So it's like they offer these games for free, hoping to get people to join in because they get a take of every game sales profit. So at the end of the day, it's like so long as you're actively using Steam and being advertised to via their sales, it's like they're making money off of Dota. Then if you
hmm
purchased items in game, they're making money off of that too. So it's like Valve is in a unique position, but it also means that I kind of unfairly expect something of kind of similar generosity from other MOBAs, and they don't have it.
Yeah.
You know, like full character roster over 100 characters, just right there, available to play all the time.
And there's
That's
still
incredible.
more to be added, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot that's. I mean, they even just added a store to go with the international tournament that allows people to create actual physical merchandise. So, T-shirts, keychains, any kind of like just a little kitschy thing, physical object that you could think of. You can actually put that up in a store now. So, I mean, they've ascended, and Steam has ascended in quite a large leap with Dota in terms of how it views its economy. So
Yeah, maybe I'm just unfair on League, just because I mean, you know, the different circumstances, right? But
they're
uh,
they're they're fundamentally gameplay wise like they have the same goal, break the base, but to have those, the A to Z conflict that happens between the players in each game is different, and one is faster and one's slower. It just is.
yeah, and I can't, you know, I totally get why people would be turned off of Dota, especially because it took me so long to get into it, right? But it's like
Yeah.
there's something about the danger and the risk of Dota to where you have to be on point, and it, you know, it within seconds a game can go tits up, which
It's like Dark Souls. For the people, I mean, seriously, for the people that like that style of game, you should definitely try to play Dota. Like in Dark Souls, it's the type of game where, hey, you know what? I fucked up, and this is my punishment for it. And this is in Dota, it's definitely a game of, you know what? I fucked up. Here's my punishment for it. And it gives out its punishment severely and swiftly.
At least both games have something that they have a common denominator between each of them. The one true click.
Yeah.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wear out my
clicking.
mouse playing Dota.
I'm surprised I have not worn out mine by now. Like 450 plus hours, and it still clicks like a charm.
Man. Yeah, it's
And
been pretty cool, like introducing that game to other people too. So especially now that, you know, it's like we kind of got a group that would be willing to play on a regular basis is pretty rad.
hmm
But okay, outside of Dota and outside of Dark Souls, what else have you been up to?
Yeah, keeping up with Titanfall. I did pick up the 360 version of Titanfall. We did not. I don't believe we talked about that during the last podcast, though.
Mm-mm.
I did want to pick it up and kind of see what they did. I have some friends that don't have both a high class gaming computer or an Xbox One, so I was very excited to see what Blue Point, a pretty unproven team, would have been able to do with the game. And to be honest, they did a fantastic, phenomenal job. It's the same game. There is a little bit less AIs on the field, just a little bit, and the performance definitely dips. Not, I would say severely, but it is noticeable when you have Titan fights going on. Um, in fact, to when they knew this, I read interviews with them, and they're like, hey, you know what, the performance is impacted so severely when they do Titan fights that actually Last Titan Standing is a completely different mode really from the outset on that one. And Last Titan Standing on this, it's they just have I'm pretty sure on the 360 they have almost no AIs on the maps. There's no specters or other grunts to shoot at your Titans or for you to pick up uh, a lot of extra negative time for your cores and stuff on the 360. So it kind of plays slower, I feel like, on the 360 than it does on the other consoles. Still the same game mode. It's just speed-wise, it'll be different. Apart from that, it's the same maps. The gameplay's the same. I feel like when I shoot characters on the 360 version, it takes longer for them to die. I don't know what that is. If it's just me or if it's the actual game itself. I can't really tell because I'm not playing the 360 version and like immediately hopping to the PC version to compare in terms of immediacy. Resolution wise, it's obviously pared down from the Xbox One, but I mean performance wise, I say it dips down when Titans fight, but it actually hits a good average of between 45 to 50 frames on its maximum. There is an option to, and there is some screen tearing. It's not severe though. There's a lot of people that overplay what it actually looks like. It's very playable. It's not like the screen tearing that the PC version suffers from if you don't turn on VSync, which to anyone who has not done that upon turning Titanfall on the PC knows that game literally is unplayable without VSync on, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't really matter that much with that game since everyone's in the same playing field. But there is an option to limit the frame rate to 30 hertz on the 361. That is a stark difference to playing that game, though. It's really, really crazy how different it is to play Titanfall at 30 frames per second.
I feel like I wouldn't enjoy it. Like 40
It's not
kind of mimics its smoothness in a way, even if it's kind of like not locked. I would be down for that.
It's not 60, but it's drastically different. Like 45 is still drastically different from 30. Like I told myself like, okay, I'm gonna play the first few matches in Titanfall with 30 on, just to see what that feels like. And then I turned it off and played 45, and I will never turn the 30 hertz back on. Like it's a astonishingly different thing for a console game. 45 and 30 on a PC game. I remember when WoW originally came out, and during the most busy times, the frame rate will dip below 30, and then it'll go to 45 in some zones. And I never really noticed the difference too drastically until you got back to 60. In this, it's vastly different. Other issues graphically are they use texture streaming, which the other versions do not use, so it does have some texture pop in here and there, but I mean it's required. They said in the interview when they first started playing the game on the 360 hardware, it ran at 5 frames per second, so at maximum.
Wow.
So that they had to do a severe amount of tweaking. They said that the engine that is used in the 360 version of the game, the source engine, is so vastly different from the PC and Xbox One versions that it's basically a different game. They had to remake the game from scratch, basically. And again, it's totally 100% playable. I picked up 3 copies of it during Target's buy 2 get 1. Yes, Target, I took advantage of you, tough shit, and gave them to my friends, and we've been playing it. I haven't complained about it. There's nothing that I've been like, no, okay, this is terrible. It's amazing, honestly, that they pulled off what they did.
Yeah.
So if you own a 360, you can't buy an Xbone, buy the 360 version of Titanfall. You will not be disappointed by it, unless you're just so much of a performance stickler. Which, if that's the case, I don't know what to do for you.
You should be on the PC.
Yeah.
At that point, you just might as
What
well
are you doing, bro?
sell your 360. Yeah, if you're playing on a 360 and you're a performance stickler, you shouldn't be on a console. Yeah, and then I guess going back to PAX briefly, they just mentioned they did an interview with the director for Titanfall, and he gave a whole detailed list of things being added to the game. So for people that don't know, when Titanfall launched, it did not have the private match option it has right now. It did not have friends colors. So if you're on a team with people on the map, they used to all look the same color. Now they are kind of a brighter green on the mini map. They've buffed some things out, changed some other things. They've done a lot in a kind of a quicker span than Cough Dice has with their game, and they've been very upfront with the changes they're making. They just announced the first 3 maps for the game. They should be out early May. I'm gonna assume they said 45 days, so I'm gonna assume like the first week and a half to 2 weeks of May. And those last 3 maps, they're adding in new game modes. They're adding new schemes to private matches. And what I mean by schemes is instead of just having to find friends to create a private match like you would have to do in other games of this ilk and nature, you can just type in a hashtag, and that hashtag will match you up with people searching that exact same hashtag, which is awesome. That, to me, that enables the idea that we're going to see private rooms a la Halo 2, where you're going to have people doing their own custom crazy things. You'll always be able to find those kind of people doing that. I haven't played a game on consoles or a game that is derived from consoles that has matched that kind of community aspect. I don't know if Titanfall will match it in terms of size. It won't. Actually, I know it won't. But in terms of the variety, I think it'll start to hit it. And yeah, they say they're probably gonna have another patch. I'm gonna assume they're probably gonna have another patch out in the next week and a half for the game that's gonna add custom naming of loadouts, specific loadouts for game modes. Yeah, even possibly that they said they were going to add the 2v2 last Titan standing mode. They may have that in the next patch.
Like pre-map pack.
Yeah, they're going to add new burn cards to the game. It's all free. The only things that are going to be in the map packs are going to be the maps. Apart from that, every other thing they're going to add to the game is going to be free.
Now for the burn
That
cards,
also-
they're going to be more Titan oriented.
Yeah,
Right.
so think along the lines of a vortex shield that lasts longer, or electric smoke that activates faster, or guns have larger clips, or like an arc cannon will charge faster, things like that. A lot of people are worried about the balance of these, but they balanced out the burn cards pretty well. And since they're burn cards, they're one-use things. So if you have a team of like-minded individuals that want to focus a player down on a Titan because he's being a douchebag because he's got a burn card, you can probably very easily take him down.
Sure. Yeah, I mean they're just
So-
naturally unbalanced, but it's not.
Yeah, that's their
the
nature.
game's set up for it. It's like everybody has
Yeah.
the potential to naturally balance things in their favor a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's always a fun aspect of those. So there's that. There's gonna add the Titan customization. They haven't really detailed that exactly on what that'll
it's
be.
just
but-
emblems or something, right?
yeah, it's probably just gonna be emblems. I can't imagine it be anything too huge other than
I
that.
don't know. I do enjoy my emblem makers.
If
Oh,
it's
man,
an emblem maker like that would be great. I
I'm
don't-
just
I don't
thinking
know
of
if it's gonna be
Counter-Strike sprays, like back in the day.
that.
Dude, I wish that you could add like a GIF to like your Titan shoulder. Man,
Oh man.
It'll just be filled with women having sex. That's all it's gonna be. It's
Okay.
just sex.
I'm
I mean,
alright
I'm
with
just
that.
saying
Hmm.
that's all it's gonna be if they did that. But yeah, I really really commend Respawn on being. For a while, it felt like they were being quiet, but honestly, they're very upfront with changing and helping the community out with their game. So I commend them for that. So yeah, I've been playing Titanfall.
nice. And the Xbox 360 version sounds pretty rad.
Yeah, so it's hey, play it if you got a 360. If you can't afford a one now, to get a Titanfall for this.
Yeah, anecdotally, like I've got another friend that doesn't have a next gen console, and he just picked up the Xbox 360 version of Titanfall since I've been telling him how much I enjoyed the PC version. So, and he doesn't have a next gen version of the game. He hasn't played it. He hasn't seen the PC version, and he's been happy with it. So I guess for players that don't have PCs or really haven't like gotten their hands on the next gen version, that it seems to be receiving a positive reception.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't heard any complaints. Like it's kind of weird, especially because he's one of those players that's very into Call of Duty, or at least was at one time. So he hasn't mentioned anything about like the frame rate bothering him. So that's anecdotal, but it's kind of nice to hear. Like it's cool that most people that like really aren't tuned into gaming culture are still enjoying the game. Right, because I mean, I was kind of expecting to see like a bunch of like hardcore gamers just rip it apart because it's like 30 frames per second or lower resolution, and that has been the case.
Yeah.
The 360s for those dirty casuals.
Haha, casuals. Okay.
So, Shane,
Mhm.
sweetie, what have you been up to this week?
Oh.
Past 2 weeks.
Oh!
Have you been playing the video games?
It's funny you should ask. I have. I guess for the
You have?
yeah, last time we podcasted, like I didn't get around to talking about two of the games that I had played. One of which I had beaten, which was Infamous Second Son. And that game was pretty cool. It was shorter than I thought it would be and smaller than I thought it would be, but that's a nice game.
Is it all of Seattle?
Yes, it is all of miniature Seattle. It is
Miniature
all
Seattle.
of a version of Seattle. Like I don't understand why they changed their naming convention. Like in the first Infamous, I want to say it was like Liberty City or something. I mean, it wasn't Liberty City. It was some Empire City, I think. And
yeah,
then
this isn't GTA.
yeah. And then the second one, which was like their take on New Orleans, was like New Marai or something. And for this one, it's like, hey, Seattle. Even though it takes place in the same universe, they're suddenly like using a real city, but they're not using the city's layout. They're taking landmarks, which people who have been to Seattle can point out, and apparently they look very accurate. But I've never been to Seattle. I don't know. it's very small. It takes minutes to cross it, especially because you've got superpowers that increase your speed, so you can race across the city like the Flash. But for an open world game, it's kind of slight. I don't want to say that it's kind of like a trifle. Like there is enough game there. There is enough meat to kind of dig in and get your money's worth. But it clocked in probably at 9 or 10 hours for me to get 100% on one playthrough.
Ooh, I was about to say like 8-9 hours. That's not that bad for 100% completion though. That's it's not that good looking right there.
Yeah, there's not that much to do in terms of side activities. You're hunting down drones, which hover around the city or stay parked, and they drop shards, which can be exchanged to increase your powers. Just so happens there are just enough shards to fully level out every single one of the powers that you get. And your character in this is a power sponge. He's kind of like Rogue from X-Men, to where he can steal powers, which is kind of neat, and it plays into the fact that the game probably feels smaller than it actually is. You start off with a smoke ability, but very quickly you get a neon ability, which allows you to run at incredible speeds.
Don't you mean particle effect ability?
It is, yeah. That power is gorgeous. Once I unlocked it, I used that throughout most of the game. God, the effect of just draining neons. It's very pretty. It's like one of those games too where it's just graphically it kind of justifies the hardware, but in terms of gameplay, it really doesn't. Like, it doesn't do anything special. It plays like Infamous, which if you've played the other Infamous games, then you already know if you like it or not. It's a competent, well put together action game, with good flow in its open world. But it didn't do anything to change it up. It's just Infamous again. I think I probably liked it more than maybe I should, given just the gameplay merits alone, because of the narrative. And I feel like Sucker Punch kind of they did a solid job this time. Like, the script's not great, but it flows well. I like the acting in it. It's kind of like every actor that you've heard in every major video game in the past 3 years is in it.
Oh, they got some real talent then,
Yeah,
right?
Troy Baker is the lead, so Delson. I wound up liking more than I thought I would, since just going off of the cover and the character art, he looks like a douchebag.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, this is Seattle.
Yeah, and I mean, he kind of is a douchebag, but he's likable. And the way I played it, like, I played through going the Infamous side of morality, which, depending on your moral choices, not only does it change the narrative, but it also changes which powers you have access to, which kind of gives impetus to play through the game a second time in order to check out the abilities that you didn't have access to the first time. So playing as a good character, if you get the neon ability, then you can slow down time when you aim with your basic shots. That way you can easily score like non-lethal, like ankle shots or something, to bring somebody down, as opposed to just blowing away groups of people willy-nilly.
Yeah, doesn't the game have like a system, if you get headshots, you get like a renegade like boost? They do like a renegade super ability, but if you shoot at their ankles, it does like how they used to have like the tie down abilities in the other Infamous games, where they just kind of like fall over and then the cops come pick them up later.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. I mean, it is straight up, it's Infamous. The additions they've made are minor, which is new powers, but all the powers are essentially kind of like the same means to an end. You are shooting. Left trigger is making you aim. Right trigger is making you shoot. They've got kind of a missile or grenade ability. They've got a quick movement ability, and then they've got like different melee powers. And you can't really like string them together, since you're required to drain part of the substance which you are about to use. So in order to use neon, you have to run over to a neon sign and then drain it, and then you have neon powers. Or you have to blow up a car and then absorb the smoke to use smoke powers. Like, you can't just like quickly push the D-pad to change it up mid-combat, which I would have certainly preferred. But I mean,
I guess it gives it kind of a sense of tactics, kinda, where
Sure.
even though that item you probably need for this certain scenario to make it a lot easier is just right the fuck there. But you kind of have to think out how you initially want to go into a scenario.
I guess that might have been what they were thinking when they initially put it together, but the way it worked out for me is that when you drain powers, you regain health. Like you just regenerate health normally, but if you want to like hasten that, then you need to drain something. So in combat, it's like, okay, I'm using neon powers. I would really like to get back into the fight right away. Oh, there's some smoke. I'll drain that and get right back into the fight. And that was what was causing me to change powers rather than like go like, smoke would be great for this firefight. Like that never happened. So, but it was an attractive, fun, and I don't know, pretty enjoyable game, I guess. Enough for me to want to go back through it and try beating it as a good character a second time. So, I mean, if I like it enough to go back through it again, then I think it's probably not worth $60 for most people, but it justifies its price more than I thought it would, given how long it takes to beat it.
So it's more of a game that like you enjoy it if you enjoyed the other Infamous games, or if you want to like if you ever been to Seattle and clogged the toilet at the Space Needle, you can experience seeing it in video game form.
Sure.
Otherwise, it's not really like a $60 pickup, more of like a maybe when it goes down in price kind of pickup.
30, 40, or I'll wait till it goes on PlayStation Plus next year. But I liked it. It's a pretty good game. They also released a set of missions at launch called Paper Trail that I haven't dug into yet. So, and that kind of is not necessarily an ARG, but it uses external websites in order to like fill out that side quest or side mission. So that seems kind of interesting, but I haven't gone through it yet. I'd really like to see what they do from here with the series, because it's like this is a really good foundation and it plays well, it looks great. I'd like to see them do a lot more with it, like a larger city, a broader range of activities, and an easier way to cycle through your powers in order to give like some real diversity to combat and not make them so samey, you know. But
yeah,
I feel like they'll move in that direction. Like it's a really solid foundation for what they do for this generation. Outside of that, the game that I've spent the most time with in the past 2 weeks has been the Elder Scrolls Online, which is a game that I was extraordinarily harsh on prior to its release.
See, yeah, I was playing the beta. I was playing the beta, and you guys are like, "Why are you playing that piece of shit?"
Yeah, haven't you seen the NeoGAF topic? Oh
yeah.
Man, they're hating on that game. Yeah, it looked horrible in beta. Everything that I saw about that game leading up to release, it made it seem like it was going to be a disaster. And instead, I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't know if it's great. It's certainly very solid, though. It's a better effort than I expected by far. Elder Scrolls Online takes place about 1,000 years prior to Skyrim, and it's divorced from the canon, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
So you are, I guess, really what I kind of wanted from an Elder Scrolls Online game conceptually was more of like, I would like to play Skyrim, but then have 3 of my friends join me in that. And this game does not emulate that on a mass scale. It does not play like an Elder Scrolls game with a bunch of other people running around. It plays like a massively multiplayer game with Elder Scrolls elements, like a first-person perspective that is also half-baked. There's no real reason to play it like an Elder Scrolls game. It's got enough of like the little side notes to where it's like, oh, okay, I can loot these boxes. Or I can read books off of the bookshelves. That's kind of neat, but it doesn't really like establish a different feel from other MMOs. It more so does that in its combat, which is kind of closer to Guild Wars 2, which both of you have played. It's a slower, more responsive version of Guild Wars 2's combat, to where you're, I guess responsive isn't the right word, reactive, to where you are given time to block and deflect and to kind of gain purchase in combat, more so in Guild Wars, to where Guild Wars is very fast paced and it's very action heavy, and this kind of is in between a Guild Wars and a World of Warcraft, to where it's got a relaxing nature to the combat, to where it's not so high pressure as Guild Wars, but still has enough tactile control that it gives it a more I don't know, like interactive feel. Like you feel more in control of the proceedings than you do in other games, which it's nice. And in terms of area design, it's nothing stunning. It's not a particularly gorgeous game. It's, I don't know, it's just very solid. Like everything about it is like, hey, that's a solid effort. I started as an orc fighter in the Daggerfall Covenant, so it's been kind of neat going through Daggerfall, which is a portion of that series that I never played. It's kind of neat to experience that side of the world, and I don't know really how to put it. It's like the areas are very open for exploration, and it certainly incentivizes you to wander around and find caves or pick up quests that are off the beaten path. It does enough to divorce itself from standard MMO theme park game design, to where you don't run into a quest hub and are given like 6 things to do, which will in turn come up with 6 follow-up quests. Each quest feels more important, and each one feels like you are making strong progress towards the end of a zone story. However, it is still zoned off. So it's kind of like a half step in terms of game evolution. But that's not a negative. It's just an observation, to where seeing things like EverQuest Next coming down the pipe probably next year, that seems like a very next-gen idea of a game. And this certainly is not. It is still rooted in classical design in many ways, and seems to make great strides in ways that MMO aficionados will probably appreciate. But yeah, it's a solid effort, and it's neat to see a game that isn't completely instanced off. It's very open. It's very community driven. It's you're really encouraged to play with other players in the game. When you go into a dungeon, there are other players there. When you're running a story mission, there are probably other players there. And that's kind of nice to see again, especially because after World of Warcraft, I felt like MMOs kind of moved in that direction, to where it's a massively single-player experience, which isn't something that I was really wanting. Like, that genre is special because of the community interaction. This game seems to shine in that aspect. But yeah, long-winded summary complete. It's pretty good.
So does it when I played the beta, I played the first run of the beta when it first came out. Does it still have like basically a 3-point system for its combat, where you have your main slash or your main attack, then you have block, and then you have like a shield bash that dazes the enemy sometimes if you're lucky? Is that still basically how the combat still rolls in the game?
Yes, those are the basic combat controls, but then you've also got like the Q, Q, E, and then 1 through 5 are all assignable. One is for an ultimate ability, one is for a quick slot item like a potion to chug mid-combat, and the rest are for you to assign moves to. So, but yeah, like the basic stuff that you're using without like pushing a button on a keyboard, like an action bar in other MMOs, is just left mouse, right mouse, and then holding the left mouse in order to do a power attack. So I don't know if that's I think that's the answer to your question. Yes, that is
Yeah,
the
that's
basics,
that's
but with MMO stuff on top of it.
yeah, that's how it was kind of like in the beta. Also, first word in the beta, there was a lot of weird like voice command stuff. Like a lot of the voice acting wasn't implemented in the game, so they had like temp stuff. And I know I've been talking to you a little bit off the air about like here and there about these weird things that you're finding with just glitches in the audio.
Sure. Yeah, I've encountered a few problems, but I mean not enough to where it's like I really want to like dredge it up. It's it's an MMO launch, so it's kind of like after going through a few of these, it's kind of like I understand how bad they can be because I've seen some really shitty MMO launches. Like even a game that I enjoy, like Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, right? Like when they relaunched that game, holy shit, getting into the servers was something else. With this, it is stable, so it's like there's issues to where in one quest, a character's dialogue, which wasn't like wasn't super important, like it had subtitles through most of it. That character's voice was switched with the German localization. So it's like, okay, for this quest chain, this one side character is speaking German. That's weird, but it's not. It didn't like fucking break the game, and it didn't like I don't know. I didn't judge it for that because it's like there's a lot of voice acting in the game, and if that occurs prior to launch, I'm sure they know about it. And I think it was fixed with the first patch. So there have been worse bugs. There was a bug that stopped story progress, and it required myself and like a crew of 40 other players trying to finish this one mission. To kind of be enterprising and come up with our own solution to unfuck the mess that the developers made. So we succeeded, and we were able to get through that, and that issue has also been patched. So, I mean, they seem to be pretty on top of it. The servers have been stable. Like, I haven't had a time to where I haven't been able to access the game for long periods of time. And when I've been in-game, it's been mostly lag-free. So really the lag hasn't affected the game so much as like the chat system, to where it's like whispering to someone or using guild chat has been delayed at times, but nothing that impacts gameplay. So like I could nitpick at those issues, but after seeing like how bad it can get, it's kind of like I kind of appreciate how stable it is. Like it's very playable, and that's pretty cool. Like that's something that MMOs typically can't manage at launch.
Yeah, that's pretty neat that like ESO has been having kind of a smoother than usual launch to a giant MMO like in its size.
Yeah, go figure. It's really well done. The areas are cool to explore. There's a lot to them. The missions are very diverse, considering like the foundation that's built upon. There's very little like go kill 6 of this or go fetch this for me. It's like the missions feel like they've got real impact, and each one of them is usually accompanied by some very seamless phasing, which is something we saw in like World of Warcraft initially, to where you can change the game world sometimes radically. And that's very neat, especially because they give you enough, they pepper the narrative enough with like choices that you feel like you've got some agency in what's going on. So at the end of the day, I'm sure there's not that many like variations of how a zone is going to turn out, but it certainly feels personal. It certainly feels like you have an impact in the world, and it doesn't feel like you're having that impact behind like a green instance door like in Star Wars: The Old Republic or something. So that's, I don't know, it's really nice. It's kind of like a merger of very old school style MMO design crossed with some of the best parts of newer MMO design. It's smartly put together. It's not brilliant, but it's very sharp. Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to give it another try.
It's that good.
Yeah. So 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Unicorn out of 10.
Yeah. Unicorn out of 10. 7 out of 10. I like it. It could be, it'll probably get better over time. So, a few months from now, we'll sweeten the pot quite a bit. New content. So, but I think anybody that's curious in it will probably be pretty happy with their purchase. And then the last game that I've played in the past couple weeks that's worth talking about is Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls.
Wow.
Oh, Diablo 3.
Yeah, I'm pretty cool on that game. That is I had issues with that game at launch. Like I didn't hate the game my first time through. Like I thought it was fine. Played as a witch doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed myself enough for one playthrough, and then had no urge to go back through it. They've made a lot of changes to the way loot drops, and they've seemed to have straightened out the vast majority of server issues, especially for considering that I was playing this game on launch. So, and I think anybody that's been through that was there for Diablo 3's launch knows what a fucking mess that was.
The dreaded error.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they made a lot of missteps with Diablo 3 as a whole.
Yeah.
Prevented it from being quite a fun game to delve a lot of hours into. Became a farming game rather than a I'm just going to play it and happen to get some items game.
And it was centered around their dumb fucking auction house, right? Like that was...
Yep.
Yeah, initially that was a cool idea, though.
Sure.
Initially.
I think
But
conceptually...
its implementation was poor. Yeah, its implementation was very poor.
I think it's one of those things to where I think it sounds pretty good in a meeting, but I think if that idea is carried out through a debated conclusion, that it's like, okay, this is very unhealthy for this style of game. Especially when it started to play into the way that loot was dropped. And that, I don't know, like the way that loot was dispersed at Diablo 3's launch is, I don't want to say it was necessarily nefarious, but it was certainly working against the players. It was trying to give them incentive to take the loot and then trade it on the auction house for the loot that they needed. That has all been changed. And that part of Diablo 3, that's free to everybody. That's just game-wide. So no more auction house. Loot is much better. The loot that you get is much stronger. You get it much quicker, and you get loot that's geared mostly for your character. I mean, occasionally pick up stuff for other classes, but the vast majority of the time, it's something that you can use, and that goes a long way to helping a player like me enjoy that game, because I feel like I'm making some kind of progress all the time. I'm not far enough into Reaper of Souls with the new character that I rolled, which is a Crusader, and that's a new class for Diablo 3, to like fully judge it, because I need to get into Act 5 to really like weigh in on what that expansion adds. But so far, playing through the game with the changes that they made to the Diablo 3 base game and playing it as this new character, I've had fun. It's not something to where I know people that will play that game night after night, and I will never be one of those people. That game just doesn't do it for me on that level, or anywhere close to that. I still think that game is really brainless, and I still think that the writing in that game is horrible. Like, going through the campaign again made me realize how much I hate the writing in that game, how much I hate that story. It's like,
it's not a good story. It's not
like,
good
I don't want
at all.
It's weird. There's great voice actors. It's like there are little snippets of stuff to where it's like, that's pretty cool, but overall it's super boring and super like white bread style of fantasy that it just does nothing for me. It has no character. So having to replay that content as a Crusader is kind of reminding me like, oh yeah, this is why I kind of cooled on this game. It's because it's kind of fucking bad. But I like the class. It's very powerful. The Crusader does a lot more damage than I thought it would. Like, going into it, I thought he was just going to be able to like take a bunch of damage and keep his team alive, and he certainly can do that. But He's also a damage dealer with cleaving attacks that hit multiple opponents, and he's also got an incredible amount of mobility at his disposal, be it from summoning a ghost horse to race through huge swarms of mobs, to being able to leap high into the air, kind of Dragoon style from Final Fantasy, and then crash down into a group. It's like they've really kind of hit an overpowering feeling stride of offensive powerhouse with being able to soak up damage like no other. So I've been breezing through the game on hard mode with this new character, and I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to the Reaper of Souls content. I kind of want to see if Blizzard has picked it up for that last act of the campaign. But yeah, it is absolutely nothing special. It's very decent.
Yeah. Well, I've heard good things about the actual in-game chapter that they added, and they have added a lot of in-game things to it, but when it's a struggle to get to that in-game still, that's the problem for me.
Yeah, they've done a lot. Like, I know of the changes that they've made with the bounty system, or the rifts, or being able to go in as like an adventure and just say like, okay, I'm going through this portion of Act 2. And in this portion, I will hunt down this specific monster, and then that'll be it. And you can just hop around playing adventure. And that seems almost like the way to play the game. But that's not particularly attractive. Like, there's you do have a persistent character in Diablo, of course, but there's something about like all the needs that I had back when I played Diablo 2 for the first time, and that it kind of that it realized for me at the time. Like, those needs are now being met by other games. Like a game like The Elder Scrolls Online has got a lot more custom content that was like hand put together by a designer, with as okay as the writing is in The Elder Scrolls Online, it is way above and beyond everything that's being hit in Diablo. So I'm much more engaged, I care more, and I'm getting loot in a game that's larger and kind of, I don't know, more enjoyable to spend my time in. So I think with the rise of the MMO, I just don't have an interest in this kind of game. I've got enough to play through it once, maybe twice, and that'll be it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Diablo 3. I still like it just fine, but it's pretty mediocre.
Still never bought it, or played it, or touched it.
Not missing out on much.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you're not really missing on too much at all.
I don't know, someday I'll make it past the jungle part in Diablo 2. Now, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
That's like, I always, when I ever go, I'm like, I'm going to go back and play Diablo 2. I always get to the third act, and then I just stop playing for some reason. I don't know what takes over. Yep.
Yeah, 3's fine for a playthrough too. Like I think it's totally serviceable RPG, and there's enough there. And I mean, the combat's all right. Like, it's got enough to it. You can kind of modify it to where it's like you can really find your own play style. But I don't know. I couldn't imagine like keep going back through that game over and over again, just for slightly better loot. Like, there's not enough there for me to enjoy about its combat. Like, it doesn't have that much depth, and it's super weird how thoroughly I feel like something like a Dark Souls or Demon Souls has trounced this kind of game. To where it's like, that can hold my attention for multiple playthroughs. This cannot. Mm-hmm. It can barely sustain me for one. So
it's just a dated gameplay style to me.
I feel so, I kind of feel that way, but I feel like it's almost a minority, who feel that way about the game. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of like an outlier in that kind of design, but it does nothing really. I don't hate it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think with a good dungeon crawler like that and like Torchlight, I can never do them by myself a lot of the time. I have to have like a group of people with me. It's one of those kind of community games like we were talking about earlier, where you can't play that game by yourself like Dota. You have to have like a good group with you.
Yeah, it needs something else.
Constant community
Like,
stuff.
and that's kind of why I'm harder on, I guess, like the narrative side of things. Instead of, if it just had something, anything that could get me hooked. Like, it's not necessarily the style of game. It's just that it's such a ho hum package on so many levels to where it's like, I really don't care about what happens to Diablo or this girl who, you're kind of protecting the whole game. And yeah, if you've lost me by like the first act of the game, then for a 20-hour long RPG, 15-20 hour long RPG, I mean, you really lost me. It would have been so easy for them to hold my attention for that. If just sharper writing, sharper anything. And yeah, that still is like the game's Achilles heel. I'm sure that one day there will be a game. Well, I mean, I guess there's a game like Divinity Original Sin, which isn't necessarily a Diablo. It's more of an Ultima. And what I've played of the alpha and beta of that, it's kind of similar in some aspects in that it is a top-down RPG, but it's got the writing and the characterization to kind of like pull me through an experience like that, on top of having depth with its combat. So I'm not going to write off that style of game. I guess I'm just going to write off Blizzard's attempts at it. But maybe I shouldn't be this harsh until I play through Act 5, because maybe it's a little too soon to be saying this sort of thing about an experience that I've only played a portion of.
We'll come back to that.
But yeah, that's been my 2 weeks. I haven't done anything else, really. Nothing exciting. I'm kind of eager to get back into Dota 2 in the near future, especially. You got me thinking about it, Brennan. Thank you.
July 18th, man. It's it'll be a fun time.
Yeah.
International 4.
God, that'll be crazy. I cannot wait.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're gonna get into the supreme nerdy shit of that. It's gonna be fantasy teams for that, man. Yeah, that will happen.
God.
That will happen.
I don't know, man.
Should I bring my locker to shove you guys into?
Oh. Yes.
Okay.
Best part of the Cossack is if we can get you into it in that time and get you to do it with us.
Maybe. I don't know. I would need a plane ticket since I'm up in bumfuck Wisconsin.
Well, I mean, you can do
off.
the team with us. You don't have to be like physically here, but
no, I want to be physically there with bourbon in my hands to do this.
This is how it must be.
Yes.
I'll be making a beer, so we'll probably won't be too much bourbon. It'll be more beer on my side.
No, I'm always good for beer.
Yeah,
beer
if
here.
It gets me intoxicated. Though right now my apartment is completely dry.
Oh no.
No.
Yeah, I need to stop. Maybe this weekend I'll go get something. But I mean, we're coming up on it, so I figure like a weekend with not just Dota, but also the new like Battlefield 4 map pack. You just pick that up, Brennan.
Yeah, Naval Strike. I did.
Like, I think that would be pretty cool. Like, I've played 7 or 8 games from that DLC, and I really enjoyed it. But I feel like I need to play more of it. Those are cool maps.
For me, I played one match, but I mean, for me, I've played so much Titanfall that like Titanfall's really rubbed off on. Like its play style is completely rubbed off onto me, and it's very difficult for me to play Battlefield.
Yeah,
now.
it's weird, kind of like going between the two, like switching gears. It's weird between the two. It's like I'm pretty satisfied. Like Titanfall is so much faster, and it's got giant robots. That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
But I really like everything that's going on in Battlefield 4, especially like the new vehicles that they added and new weapons. And I feel like I really like the sense of mortality that you have in Battlefield. I wonder if that's the right way to put it. Like your mistakes can feel pretty costly in that game, especially in that game mode. Where it's like you're trying desperately to hold off the engineering bay of one of those carrier ships, and an enemy team hits hard and hits at the right time to catch your team unawares. And unlike Titanfall, you don't feel empowered to handle those kind of odds. In this, it's like you can be overwhelmed and overrun. And I kind of like that feeling of having to have a team kind of stand together in order to accomplish or hold an objective. It's pretty cool. Plus, I mean, just like the audio visual like overload of Battlefield is really nice. Especially on those naval strike maps, because I feel like they're really gorgeous. Like the water physics in that game are already impressive, and the amount of destruction on a lot of those islands is pretty cool.
Yeah, they do DLC right. I don't mind spending the money for the Battlefield content for what you get. So it's kind of a thing. Like I talk about Titanfall's content, it'll only be 3 maps for $10. I mean, obviously, you could spend $10 on a 6-pack of beer, and that'll, if you're drinking it, that'll last you, just a couple of hours. Whereas $10 for 3 maps could last you a good extra 20 or more, infinitely more hours in a game you already enjoy. So it's a little different. But I mean, the amount of content they're adding for free, it's just cool. I think that DLC is kind of gonna, in the next couple of years, is gonna go back to being free. To be honest.
Really?
Or go back the same pattern of as expansion packs were back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're getting a great deal of content, even sometimes a whole new experience to a game for like maybe $20-$30. Unlike these little nickel and dime kind of tactics where it's like, at $10, get a couple maps, new character skin, let's throw in a puppy.
Yeah, or
you can't play the puppy,
or Snoop Dogg.
Like the level of DLC now.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I was just about to talk about. That's the most ridiculous thing. Like DLC is hitting that kind of level of stupid. We have Snoop Dogg as an announcer in our Call of Duty games. Not that I even cared about Call of Duty.
That is the right kind of stupid
but
for Call of Duty.
It is the right kind of stupid. I will agree, but it's just like that's the kind of stuff that we're producing for games, and it makes sense. It's kind of like calling the pot calling the kettle black. I love Dota so much. I love its economy, and there are announcers and things in that game too. It's just I don't know. It's just so from Valve. I feel like it always feels different, and I think it's just the way that they present it to you. Whereas in some of the stuff that's presented to you from other companies can just be downright just condescending.
Sure.
In the way that they do it. So
absolutely. I mean, I thought that it was like Titanfall. I think the value proposition of their season pass was like just kind of inherent. Like that was a $25 season pass, and it's going to be 3 map packs. Let's say it's 3 maps a piece. Then I mean that's not an incredible amount of content that you're getting for $25. But in the scheme of things, when you compare it to other games and what they're offering with their season pass, it's pretty good, especially given the quality of the game to begin with. Like I believe like Call of Duty Ghosts, their season pass was $60. I'm fairly certain it's $60. I may be wrong about that, but I feel like the quality of the maps is not up to Titanfall's par.
No.
So I think that the value proposition is kind of dubious, especially since they're peppering it with microtransactions like the Snoop Dogg announcer pack or the wolf skin for your dog.
Actually, the name for the Snoop Dogg pack is the Blunt Force pack. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
This is bringing up bad memories of when I had a TomTom. And for I think it was free. I didn't pay money for this, but for free, I could have Snoop Dogg tell me how to go places. And I feel like if I ever were to get back into Call of Duty and play Ghosts, and then have that as well, we're gonna be bad flashbacks of being lost in the middle of backcountry. Snoop Dogg's going, "Yo, sniggity diggity, go take a left turn over here." But instead, it's gonna be sniggity diggity, you has a killing spree.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like the voice pack going on with the video, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically what it is.
So I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't see it going I don't see DLC going free at this point, but I see DLC as definitely maybe kind of sweetening the pot. Like even Battlefield Premium. I thought that in 3 it was fairly justified by the end of all things, and by 4 I feel like it probably will be justified. I mean, considering what kind of performance you're getting in whichever version of Battlefield 4 you're playing. Were this to be the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One version, I don't know how valuable that premium pass would be if the game is still fundamentally broken for you. But for PC, it seems like you get enough with that pack to make it it justifies itself. It justifies its existence. And there are other games to where I don't feel like they pulled that across. Like I think an example would be even though I liked a lot of the DLC for it, I really liked a lot of the DLC for it. I think that Mass Effect 2 was kind of a bad value proposition on the content that they were giving you. I felt like if they had just held up and done a single expansion, then I would have been much more receptive to it, and I wouldn't feel as burned by EA. And I guess another one would be like Mass Effect 3, which again the DLC is actually pretty high quality, but some of that stuff I felt like should have been in the game to begin with, or should have just been like a cheaper single pack, as opposed to nickel and diming me for a bunch of story content that seems to fill out the game's narrative to an acceptable level.
Yeah, that was a fucking debacle right there.
Yeah, it was. Download all this stuff for $40 extra to fix your game story.
What's even crazier is now that like has it been like a year now since Mass Effect 3's come out, right? Year, maybe two, and they came out with like a trilogy pack maybe sometime last year during the holiday season, and it still didn't include all the DLC. They had the DLC for the first game attached to it, but for the second and third one, you had to buy all the DLC separate. Now that's just a crime, especially because like, since they haven't discounted any of the DLC, like there's been several times I'm like, I want to kind of go back and try Mass Effect 3 with all the DLC, and it's still like, buy Mass Effect 3 for $10, buy the DLC $20 each. It's just like, come on. It's a lot more just bad policies with DLC handling these days.
I think like they probably would have seen a higher attachment rate with that DLC had they priced it lower. And I feel like Titanfall is almost conscious of that fact, and instead has placed their DLC at a much more reasonable amount. Like it's still, if going back in a time machine 10 years, I'd find Titanfall's like DLC pricing to be fucking insane. Yeah. But it's like, considering the market now, it's like, I'm all right with that. Like I feel good about my purchase. So hopefully other games kind of mirror that going forward.
Yeah.
Because man, Mass Effect was rough. Like, and that's even me saying that I really liked the DLC in that. Like, I felt like Mass Effect 3 with all the DLC was a game that I wound up being satisfied with, but not with how much I paid.
Dude, just think about it. Like maybe like 12, 15 years ago, before Half-Life 2 came out, you could get the Half-Life 1 collector's edition for $30, and it came with not one, not two, but 3 different campaigns, and then 2 extra games on top of that. You got Team Fortress and Counter-Strike. Oh, and then you come back to today.
That I bought when I first got started.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same one I got as well as a kid. Man.
Or Unreal Tournament's the one, like 2K4. It's the one where I got like, oh my god, the amount of game I got for the money. I mean, the generation of assets for that was way easier at that point in time.
Like a year later, after the game came out, you got this massive map pack that included like 20 maps, new vehicles, new game mode. Oh,
on top of like 200 maps that they launched with.
Yes.
Yeah. 2K4 is a pretty good game. That was a really good game.
It's like one of the best games of that generation. And one of the prime examples of how to do an arena shooter. Still to this day.
Yeah, I really hope that there's kind of like a resurgence. I know that Cliff Bleszinski is supposedly working on an Unreal Tournament-esque game. Not with the license, but kind of like an arena shooter. So, I think that'll be cool. Have him kind of return to the roots.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I wonder who, like, I'm sure he's not like a one-man show. Like, he's an extremely competent map designer. And I wonder who else he's going to have working on that project with him. Because, I'm sure he could produce a lot of great content in a vacuum, but I want to see that team.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll probably find a lot of his old talent from Epic just jumping ship to come with him, or guys that have been let go over the years, he'll probably pick back up. Probably not Rod Ferguson, since he's working. Crap, who's he working for now? Oh, he's working for Naughty Dog now.
Is that true?
That's
Rod
right.
Ferguson landed at
Yeah,
Naughty
he's
Dog?
working for Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Is he the Naughty Dog or?
speaking of
Sorry,
departures, how about Marty O'Donnell?
Ooh. Yeah. I just found out about this.
The real issue with this is there's so much mystery behind it. Is really why it's become such a weird issue overnight.
I feel like it wasn't something like, I feel like he didn't do something like bad. I think this is like a misstep in negotiation, because otherwise it wouldn't have been like fired without cause. Like fired without cause is like that's never great to be fired, but in terms of how you could be fired, that's like the best for the employee. So, I feel like one of the things that I read on NeoGAF, of course that's taken with a grain of salt because it's fucking NeoGAF. But going off of NeoGAF, I heard that it could be a dispute about payment that turned into an argument that turned into a firing. So, and that could be completely wrong. But that seems like more in line with what I would expect from something like that, because he is an important part of that series' character. I'm sure like Destiny going forward will use themes that he has created already. So it's kind of a shame to see him depart, especially because I have no idea what his work is gonna kind of sound like for Destiny, right? Because I can't gauge it. I can't compare it to the scores that he had previously done. I just know that I loved all of his previous game scores. Like Halo that has got a phenomenal soundtrack. All the Halos do, except for 4 maybe.
And I'm sure like most of Destiny's soundtrack's already been completed. Sure. So a lot of his work is still gonna be in there. But losing such an ionic part of that team, he's been with them long time. Like losing that sound which makes Bungie unique is gonna be a pretty big hit. I'm sure they probably can find new talent and bring in a new ushering to their sound, but who knows?
We only got Paul McCartney there, right?
He was there helping Martin O'Donnell with Destiny, but the thing he was helping him with, from what I know, is he was just doing a spin-off album of Destiny's songs.
Called Destiny's Child.
Yes. But just a bunch of like a prequel to the sounds that you hear in Destiny. With him, I don't think that Paul McCartney was doing anything like with the core game sound. I think it was just like this separate entity altogether. Could be wrong though.
Yeah, kind of in tribute, I had a Google playlist going today of all the Halo soundtracks, at least 1 through Reach. So.
Mm-hmm.
Now this really weird one that popped in, where it didn't even sound like his epic guitar shredding. It was just like really just kind of like middle ground, kind of hard rock that just showed up. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's Breaking Benjamin. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Halo 2.
But no, his Halo 2. But I'm sure O'Donnell's very famous space guitar solos will be missed from the company.
I'd like to see where he lands, because I mean, it's weird. Like, normally I couldn't even begin to give a shit about a composer departing a company, except that he is so kind of integral to, at least for the Halo series, for them to establish an identity for that franchise, right? Like, that the Halo soundscape is as important as the visual design. Like,
yeah,
that was Xbox to me, and it continued. It was so high quality. Like, I remember the first time I saw a Halo 2 trailer at E3, and it's like, oh, holy shit! And that was accentuated by his soundtrack, his score, and he was such a part of Bungie. And now that he has been fired from Bungie, it's like him being a free agent. It's like, I wonder if he's going to land at one place, or if instead he'll take a route kind of like Jeremy Soule and essentially do like work for anyone as a free agent. I'm super fascinated to see what happens. Like if he's gonna land at like in Naughty Dog's quest for acquiring all the talent in the galaxy. I wonder if he'll land with them, or if maybe he'll go to EA maybe for their new Star Wars franchises. Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be pretty exciting. And I think that it's a loss that Bungie won't feel for a couple years to come, but I think they definitely will feel it. I think it was a bad move on their part.
I agree. But I mean, yeah, he'll land somewhere safe and be fine. No worries about his future. It's just such an obscure thing to hear.
Yeah, we'll compose Spartan beats for food.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that it? Was that our 2 weeks?
Yeah, there's not a whole ton of. I can't even think of anything else that really came out. I guess as a side note, hey, if there's some way you could put up that link to a Half-Life, if people are interested at all in a speed run to watch in a random media, they should definitely watch the Half-Life speed run.
Oh yeah, I'll throw an annotation down right about nowish, and then in the doobly-doo, as the people call it on the YouTubes. The doobly-doo, that's their word for the description. I found out, even though this is a podcast. I'll throw it down, and there was a record-breaking speed run of the original Half-Life. The original record was 26 minutes. It has now been broken down to 20 minutes, and this was an effort of a 4-man team that took about 4 years of theories and planning to get this all down, and it brings a tear to my eyes to see. It's beautiful. It's like chocolat.
Oh my god, yeah, the run is nuts. I like how they kind of almost delayed us starting recording because I was just hypnotized by it. It's like, okay, I have to finish this run.
Yeah.
This is insane. Oh Christ. I guess in the last 2 weeks I've also because of playing Elder Scrolls Online, I've kind of gotten like back into previous entries into the series. So it's almost been a game onto itself, of just downloading mods for those and tweaking them to my liking. Since yeah, that's probably the best thing about that series. Playing it on PC is just how much you can tweak that experience to kind of make it the one that you want. And that's been fun. Kind of like picking and choosing. Like, okay, I'm gonna grab this mod to drastically improve level of detail at a distance, or I'm gonna grab this mod that will fundamentally change combat and rebalance the game to make it challenging and more rewarding. So I'll probably be doing that. So that's all thanks to the Elder Scrolls Online, which I still have another like 20 levels of game to go through in that. So
fun times, good stuff.
Yeah, I'm knee deep in the scrolls from Mojang.
So Elder, much scrolls.
The very modifiable scrolls game.
Oh, hey, I should probably throw this in now since I just did a quick search. Rod Ferguson actually was never at Naughty Dog. I messed that up. I was thinking about something else. He was working for Irrational for a bit.
Oh, that went well.
And now he works, yeah. Well, he left way before that, and now he's working at Black Tusk Studios, and he's also part of 2K to an extent.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, right now he's working at Black Tusk.
I remember. He was essentially the closer for BioShock Infinite, wasn't he? Like, he was the guy they brought in to be like, hey, we need to wrap this fucking project up and get it out the door. Okay.
Exactly.
I remember that now. Yeah. Yeah, Black Tusk. I'm really looking forward to seeing their take on Gears of War. I'm kind of sad that it's not a new IP, but I really liked each one of the Gears of War games. Didn't play Judgment, so just like mainline 1 through 3. I thought were phenomenal games. So I'm hoping that they, if they're going to do Gears of War, that at least it's a really able follow-up for that series. I could get really excited about that since it's been long enough.
I guess so. Since I never played Judgment, it doesn't. I guess I'm ready for another Gears game. I guess to an extent, I'm ready for something in that universe.
Yeah, I'm ready to see it.
I want to go back
like
to that.
Ginned up, larger or more complicated in some way. I don't know. I really don't know what I want out of that series. I just know that I don't think the basics have exhausted me yet.
Mm-hmm. At least now that I've looked this up too, Rod Ferguson doesn't have to change his Twitter handle from Gears Viking anymore.
Yeah. Back on target. Okay, that's going to do it for the Box Social podcast. I guess we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. If you guys have anything to plug, now would be the time to plug it.
Play more Dota and Titanfall.
Okay. If you insist.
Yeah. Also, crap, what was I saying? Oh, Daylight comes out next week along with Dark Souls 2. So we might do some Twitch streaming stuff on probably Brennan's Twitch stream, I guess, if he lets me in there. And where can we find your delicious streaming on Twitch there, Brennan?
You can just go to LTG1988. So twitch.tv/LTG1988, and trying to get back into being more frequent with it. We did a little bit of streaming of Titanfall today, so hopefully it'll be more frequent.
and if he doesn't let me in there because he doesn't like me that much,
that's totally the reason, because you've never asked me not one time to get in there.
Yep, exactly.
All these weeks he's been
let me into your stream. I know. Haven't you gotten all my love letters with little hearts coming through the bottom of your door? And the package of chocolates?
I must have missed those.
Ugh, you need to keep your eye out for those things, man.
We'll also probably be having some videos up on our YouTube channel in the near future, since it seems like everybody's kind of like pushing for more video content, video reviews, let's plays, that sort of thing. So.
And some of us will have more free time because some of us are in school. I don't want to point out who, but me, but who.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some cool stuff on the horizons. Keep your eye out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do like a Facebook or something. Wouldn't that be neat, guys? We have ourselves a Tumblr.
Oh yeah, that'll be
subreddit.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, we're lacking here now. Definitely.
Cut it. I think fuck would be a good spot.
All right. Hard cut now. Bye.